In the heart of the city, tucked away between two towering buildings, stood an old, crumbling house that everyone seemed to ignore. It was as if the world had forgotten it existed, but inside something waited. One evening, Jake, a young man with a taste for adventure, noticed the house for the first time while walking home. Its dilapidated facade and overgrown yard intrigued him. He felt an inexplicable pull, urging him to explore. He pushed open the rusty gate, the hinges groaning in protest. The front door was slightly ajar, revealing a dark hallway beyond. Jake hesitated for a moment, but then stepped inside, his footsteps echoing through the silence. The air was thick with dust, and the walls were lined with old portraits, their eyes following him as he moved deeper into the house. At the end of the hallway, he found a door that didn't seem to belong. It was pristine, unlike the rest of the decaying house, with an unsettling, almost magnetic quality to it. Without thinking, Jake reached for the handle. The door swung open silently, revealing a small, dimly lit room. In the center of the room stood an antique chair facing a wall covered in a strange, swirling pattern. On the chair sat a dusty old book with no title. Curious, Jake picked it up and opened it. The pages were blank. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him. Jake spun around, his heart pounding. He rushed to the door, but it wouldn't budge. Panic set in as he banged on the door, shouting for help. But the walls seemed to absorb the sound. The room grew colder, and the strange pattern on the wall began to move, twisting and turning as if alive. Jake felt a presence behind him. He slowly turned, and his blood ran cold. The chair was no longer empty. A shadowy figure now sat there, its face obscured, but its eyes, those eyes, were unmistakable. They were the same as the portraits in the hallway, filled with a malevolent hunger. The figure slowly rose from the chair, its form shifting and contorting. Jake backed away, but there was nowhere to go. The room began to shrink, the walls closing in on him as the figure approached. The air grew thick with an overwhelming sense of dread. Just as the figure reached out to touch him, everything went black. The next morning, the house stood silent and forgotten once more. The door to the small room was closed, the chair empty, and the book lying on the floor, its pages now filled with writing. A new story, waiting for the next curious soul to find it.